Welcome back, boys or girls. We got one here by Tom Skrelly. What you can see the name. It's 6 hours ago. Haven't watched it yet. You were brainwashed to work. This is what I be saying, y'all. Y'all are, you know what I'm saying? Y'all been brainwashed to work. You're not supposed to work 80 hours a week to afford the bare minimum. You know.
You know how things aren't always what they seem, and I'm gonna give you a great example. Money. We all know money. We know how you can spend it, how you can get it, how it can change a person. And I thought I knew about money until I met a millionaire. It changed my entire perception of the thing I thought I knew, and was the same thing with lazy people. I hear it all the time. Every job I've ever had, it's always someone complaining about the so-called lazy workers. They say that they're useless, that they're making life harder for everyone else. And I just smile and I bite my tongue. Because here's the thing, I don't shame or blame anyone for not wanting to work. In fact, I kind of respect them. While everyone else is busy trash-talking them, I see the truth. They are the ones who haven't fallen for the brainwashing. Now, if you think that you're lazy or useless at work, it's not you, it's the work. Society doesn't let you see that. Instead, we're just forced into this idea about lazy and hardworking people. But the truth is, we were never given a choice. We were born into a system designed to control us, a system that convinced us that work is freedom, that a job is security, that success means sacrificing your life to climb some silly corporate ladder that you don't even own. And when people say lazy workers make the rest of us work harder, I can't help but to laugh. No, the system makes you work harder. The corporations, the bosses, the ones at the top, they
That's true. You gotta think. When I got my first job, I was that person. I was working hard. I was 16, working on my break. Like minor violations. I was working on my break. You know what I'm saying? Coming in early, staying late, working on my lunch break where I wasn't getting paid. You know what I'm saying? Just to be the best person. I did that for probably two jobs. And then I figured out quick though. I figured out my second job that it's not worth it. Working hard is not worth it. I've had like 11 jobs by now. Every time I got a new job, I'll work hard for like the first week, and after the first week, I just go lazy because, once they have a good impression of me and they leave me alone for a little bit, I know hard work doesn't pay off when it comes to working. When it comes to a 9 to 5, it doesn't matter how much work you put in, what you do for them. They want maximum profit, and they won't give you nothing. No promotions, no raises. They won't even say thank you. They'll just treat you like a slave.
created this reality, not the guy taking an extra 5 minutes on his break. The real problem, it isn't laziness, it's obedience. So what if I told you that all of this is just a lie, that you were manipulated into this way of life? That everything you were told about work, about success, about security and stability was just engineered to keep you in line. In this video, I'm going to break down the truth about work, and by the end of it, you're gonna see and understand how society tricked people into believing that wage labor was a choice, when in reality, it was forced upon us. So we're gonna sort of expose the history of work here, the psychology, the conditioning behind it, and the financial traps built into it to keep you from breaking free. But once you see the truth, there is no going back. I will never trust companies. Wage slavery is just accepted as reality. But why? It's wrong. We deserve better than 8-hour days, 5 days a week. Just because it's normal doesn't mean it's right. I made a video about that.
And it's not even an 8-hour day. It's more like 10. Because you gotta wake up. Let's say you work at 7 in the morning, or let's just say you work a 9 to 5 shift. You work at 9. You gotta wake up at 6, 6:30, 7. You have to get ready, then take kids to school, then drive to work, then drive home. So really, it's really a 10-hour work day, 10, 11-hour work day. It's not 11. I mean, it's not 8. It's 10, 11.
We have to escape because it's wrong. People need to wake up because this is the brutal truth. We're trapped in a never-ending nightmare. And for what? For a company that will drop you the second profits dip. We deserve better. And I'm going to do something about it. But first of all, we have to destroy the myth of free choice. You see, you were told that you have freedom, that you can choose your career, your path, your future. But was it ever really a choice?
Nope.
Or was it a path laid out before you were even born? You see, in the early days of human civilization, people didn't have jobs the way we do today. They hunted, gathered, farmed, and created communities where survival depended.
And I like to say this, people traded. This fake paper that they printed out and told you to buy stuff with, you used to not have that. If you had apples, I had oranges, we traded. If you had something I didn't and I had something you didn't, we traded. We didn't have a fake currency that I worked 80 hours a week to go get.
Than on corporation, not wages. They worked for themselves, for their families, for their future. But everything changed with the rise of industrialization. Before factories, most people were self-sufficient. They owned small farms, practical trades, and lived off the land. Then came the Industrial Revolution, and machines took over agriculture, forcing small farmers off their land. The only way to survive? Work in factories for men who owned everything. It wasn't about providing opportunity. It was about removing options. And it didn't stop there. In the early 1900s, factory owners and governments worked together to push the idea that jobs was the only way, the only path to stability. Schools were redesigned to train obedient workers, not independent thinkers. The modern education system, it wasn't built to help you succeed, it was built to make sure that you never questioned your role. Now, Henry Ford, and I mention this guy a lot, he's one of the most famous industrialists, introduced the 40-hour work week, and not to improve our lives, but to maximize output. The goal was never freedom, it was control. They made you believe that security comes from a paycheck, but real security, that comes from owning your own time. This wasn't a
And they tell you Henry Ford is popular for starting the assembly line, popular for making it more efficient to work and produce. No, he's popular for making it efficient to not live your own life. He's popular for introducing, once like he said, the 40-hour. A lot of people think this 9 to 5 has been around for hundreds of years. The 40-hour work week, really, it's only a Western world thing, first of all, that started in when Henry Ford started it. In Asia, they work certain countries, they work like 25, 20 hours a week. And that's full time. Part time, like 15, 10 hours. And you can pay your bills off of that. In America, though, you work 40 hours and still can't afford a bare minimum.
Natural evolution of society. It was engineered. And that's the big lie. We weren't meant to live for work. We were meant to work to live. There is a massive distinction there. And I know, before you put it in the comments, yes, there are people who love their jobs. They feel passion, purpose. But you know what? Those people actually get used the most because passion makes you exploitable. Passion makes you work for free. Passion makes you sacrifice everything while the ones at the top collect the rewards. It's a trick, and in hustling terms, it's called the pigeon trap. The victim thinks that they made the choice, but they were set up from start.
Dang, he got me with that one.
So wage slavery has...
He got me with that one. Even passion. He said, even if you got a passion, they still using that passion to make money off of you and not give you nothing.
Completely drained my spirit, but I'm not going to give up because I believe that we deserve more than this cycle. And I'm going to keep shouting until they hear us. I'm going to keep fighting until the system falls. And the haters, they can call me a whiner. I don't care. Now, I'm sure that you have been told, just as I have, that a stable job brings security, that working hard means that you will get rewarded, that loyalty to a company will pay off. But history just simply doesn't support that. If you look at 2008, millions of people dedicated their lives to companies that fired them overnight when the economy crashed. Decades of loyalty meant absolutely nothing. The moment profits were at risk, workers were disposable, gone, just like that. And it wasn't the first time. In 1981, the year I was born actually, Ronald Reagan fired over 11,000 air traffic controllers for going on strike, destroying their careers in an instant. These weren't slackers. They were highly skilled professionals, but the system didn't care. It never does, and it never did. And corporate loyalty? That's a joke. In 1950, you could spend your whole career at one company, retire with a pension, and live very nicely. By the 1980s, corporations realized that they could save billions by killing pensions and replacing full-time employees with disposable contract workers. Security? That just wasn't profitable. And that's just history. I've actually lived it. I have the experience. I've seen this happen, not just to me, but to my coworkers. People get fired every single day, sometimes for reasons that don't even make sense, you know? And the myth of stable income, it doesn't hold water. It never did. Security, that was a lie. The moment you become unprofitable, you're gone. So why do people still believe in this system? Well, the answer is fear. The fear of being jobless, the fear of losing everything. You see, the system traps you, makes you dependent.
Look. If you don't make them billions of dollars, they'll fire you. Really, they don't even care about the profit. What they'll do is they'd rather fire you and make one. They'd rather make one person work 7 people's jobs, do the work of 7 people. You go to a fast food restaurant, and the line be all the way to the street. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 3 people in there working. You go to Walmart, it's straight machines, fucking 4 or 5 people at the front. You know what I'm saying? It's all about profit. They'll rather fire you, make someone else do your job for you instead of hiring a new person, and then they'll rather hire you as part-time, but still make you work 40 hours a week. And then by that 3rd or 4th week, they'll cut you down to 34. And then right after that 1 week, they'll put you right back up at 40 and continue doing that. That way they never got to give you health insurance. They never got to give you PTO. They never got to give you vacation time, sick time, college fund. They don't have to give you money. That's why they only hire part-time now. You know, you go to a job and say, oh, we're only hiring part-time workers, but then you still end up working 40 hours a week, you know?
And then convinces you that your only option is to stay in the cycle. But what if you broke free from this cycle? What if I told you that despite everything that they've drilled into you, escape is still possible? So here's the truth. You were never meant to be free in this system, but that doesn't mean that you have to stay trapped. First, understand this. Time is your most valuable asset. Not money, not status, time. Every hour you work for someone else is an hour stolen from your own dreams. And here's the kicker. The company you work for is making far more of your hours than they pay you. They don't buy your labor, they buy your time at a discount. But most people never realize just how valuable their time actually is. Let me put it to you in this way. It took me about an hour to make this video, maybe a little more, but stick with me. 1 hour of work for a video that will generate income for months, maybe even years. Some of my videos bring in $100 a month and have done so for years. Imagine the hourly rate a company would have to pay me to match that. They never could. And that's my point. If you only have 1 hour a day to work on your own business, don't underestimate how powerful that hour could be. Second, realize that debt is not just a burden, it's a weapon. Student loans, mortgages, car payments, they weren't designed to give you a better life. They were designed to keep you working. The more you owe, the more debt.
And once again, guaranteed student loans were offered by the government. So what the colleges do, private loans from private banks for private colleges used to be like $10,000, $15,000 for a private school. Government came in and said, oh, we'll make the loans guaranteed. And guess what? The colleges said, oh, Big Daddy government always gets their money. So they came and then they hiked up the college prices to $100K. So, and now you're 100, you know what I'm saying? It don't make sense. Just to get a useless job, once again, that won't give you any benefits, that won't give you any money, they will just take your time, make you go broke, make you hate your life.
Desperate you become for a paycheck. And the more desperate you are, the easier you are to control. Start thinking differently about money. The rich, they don't trade time for money. They invest, they build, they own. The system wasn't made for you to win, but it can be beaten if you learn to play the game differently. Look at history. Every major shift in power happened because people broke the mold. The industrial age created factory workers. The digital age created entrepreneurs. The next shift, it belongs to those who refuse to play by the old rules. And here's something that they don't want you to know. The system needs you more than you need it. The moment enough people wake up and stop accepting wage slavery as normal, the entire structure collapses. So, what will you do? Will you stay in that cycle or start building your way out? Think about it like this. Every hour you invest in someone else's dream is an hour stolen from your own. Don't let wage slavery rob you of your life's potential. If you enjoy the content that I create and want to help me keep going, consider supporting me on Patreon. It's $5 a month, and your membership of Escaping Wage Slavery. Bye. Wondering, how's it actually?
Yeah, I mean, everything he said is true. This is what I've been saying though. A lot of people don't listen. This is what I've been saying. All the job is this fake thing that your mom and dad and your government told you to chase. That way they could give you this fake paper sheets that could buy certain things. You got to work 80 hours a week for it. You know what I'm saying? You can't afford to live. You can't afford to go out with your friends, go out with your family. If you can, you don't even have the time to do it. And if you can afford and you do have the time, you don't feel like it because you're too tired. Chase someone else's dream instead of yours. And it was all manipulated. Everything they said was a lie. You know what I'm saying? Henry Ford didn't make the assembly line. He made the 40-hour work week. You get what I'm saying? They didn't make the school system, the college system. They made this enslavement system, the brainwashed system. They didn't make the Industrial Revolution. They took away people's natural way of living, where they didn't have to work 80 hours a week. They could go outside, pick some eggs, feed their cows, cut their grass, and water their plants, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? There's way more than that. You have to, get your hands dirty, cut down some trees, cut your chickens, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But still, now you work. You live to work. Like he said, you're supposed to work to live. If even, you're really supposed to work a little bit to live a lot. You're supposed to work 2-3 hours a day to live. You know what I'm saying? But now you work 10 hours a day, or you live just to work 10 hours a day. Escape. Save your money, cut your expenses. My expenses after this month will be $280 a month. I paid off both of my phones. I paid off my car note. My lease is finna end. I paid off my credit card. My bills are going from, within just a few months, my bills have gone from $1,800 to, after this lease, $280. You do the math. I'll be saving that. I'll be moving to Vietnam. Bye. Remember, no matter what happens, as long as you're alive, life goes on.